Rolling with a little bit of a squirrely moment there on the bottom as he was snapped tight on the exit of the corner. Christian Challenger trying to stay off the back of Andretti. They're going to go 3 wide as they come down the front stretch with Travis whirling on the bottom. There's contact. They still keep going.
Whirling all the way to the bottom, but he doesn't have the speed. He's pinched too far to the inside. Challenger on the high side. He's going to be able to get the nose ahead. We are going green to the finish. Abramitis has the inside, but can he get it off the corner? He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. There's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it? Abramitis takes the win by 7 thousandths of a second. The top 5 were only 700ths between each other. Unbelievable finish.
Pulling up ahead, but it's going to be 3 wide as they head down to turn 1. Look at that. That's Ian Haycock's making the move for the lead on the inside. They're almost 4 wide behind him. That's Reed Miller who gets into the back of everybody. He cleans out Yuko Leskala.
Unbelievable. Haycock's with a move that saved his bacon. He gets a great run, covering down to the inside, almost all the way to the grass. He'll force Holly to go the long way around as they approach Rent. Kings is still potentially in this. No, he's starting to drop back as he tied on fuel here. As Holly tries to go around, he might have the speed to do it if he can just challenge him down to the line. He is a little bit wide. Now Kings is coming back. They are running out of fuel. It's going to be Kings who goes from 3rd to 1st at the final run. Oh, this is a bad place to catch him. He's going to be able to get through 1. That's some distance. That is the buffer that he needs. I think that's going to do it for Guven. All he needs to be is fast off the final corner. He spins it. The final corner. Vico's going to win off the final turn and beat Guven, who led this entire race. The first 3 rounds of the season were all high-speed venues, but the following 3 are all tight and twisty without many chances to overtake. Sonoma gave us a taste of that, so what have the drivers picked up to use here at Imola? We'll find out soon as we get ready to watch round 5 of the Lotus 79 Sunday Grand Prix Series, and you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and behind the scenes is our director, Ryan Bauer. He's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. With Imola coming up soon and modern F1 in the real world, we'll probably be seeing and hearing lots about this place soon. Let's head to our track guide for a little introduction. Welcome to the Autodromo Internazionale Enzo e Dino Ferrari, but most race fans know this place as simply Imola. This circuit in the northern part of Italy has seen some of the highest highs and lowest lows in motorsports history. The various tragedies that have marred the track left no choice but to alter it in the name of safety. While it originally featured mostly fast, sweeping corners, its modern 3-mile or 5-kilometer version is punctuated by tricky chicanes and incredibly technical turns. iRacing includes the Grand Prix layout and a moto version, which adds 1 more chicane to the front stretch. Tamburello is perhaps the most notorious of the corners for claiming the life of multi-time world champion Ayrton Senna when it was still a single breathtaking turn. Now the Triple Apexer not only offers potential passing opportunities, but catches out drivers quite frequently. While heavy braking zones are everywhere, because few places allow the cars to get up to speed, overtaking is generally seen as an exercise in frustration. As if to almost counteract this quality, the track itself is situated in a gorgeous public park and sends the drivers through the beautifully calming Italian countryside. It also includes a fair bit of elevation change in which the track is split between the higher up back half and the lower first portion. It's no wonder that this place still proves popular with drivers and fans in spite of its difficulties in history. The Tifosi keep returning each and every time the sound of engines roar among the trees, and who can blame them? So much history here in racing, and a good chunk of it, of course, is with Formula One. Now, this saw Formula One arrive, though, a little bit after the time of the Lotus 79. So it'll probably be a little bit of a different experience, especially with all these chicanes, which didn't exist at that time, or at least most of them when the 79 was competing. Big passing zones, obviously, probably going to be into Tamburello and then perhaps into Alter if they're brave. Maybe Ravazza, but not that long of a stretch down there into that double left-hander. Of course, many of the drivers will have to be worrying about those cut course penalties and the sausage curbs as well. Taking a look at the championship at this stage of the season, it is Jukka Tolinen who is leading the way, but look at that. We got a tie for second and third. Gernot Frische and Pauli Partanen. Partanen on 2 wins as he came back after a poor result at Monza and was able to score well at Sonoma with a win. And Michael de Turk is in the hunt after he's taken a single victory so far this season himself. And then it's a long jump back to Timothy Reed, who's getting a little bit distant, having not had too many fantastic results, but not too many bad ones either. As for the team's championship, it's Martini Racing Team Lotus who are up at the top. Ligier and McLaren are in a close fight behind, trying to keep up. And then Renault is not too far behind themselves back there in fourth. Then it's a pretty big jump as well, just like we saw with the Drivers' Championship down to Wolf with Williams and West driving for them. They've got to make up a little bit of ground here if they want to get into the race. Now, for today's event, it is going to be 27 laps around here, as they don't take too terribly long to try and get around this place. But they have an open setup, and that's going to be interesting to see who is able to get some straight line speed but still be fast through the rest of the lap, because they do have that long run down the front stretch. And then, of course, they have the rest of it to try and get as much downforce in as they can. Now, there's no spare car, so if they get damage, they could find themselves in trouble, because there's not scheduled pit stops in this style of racing, just like it was in the real world. And they have some incident limits, including a drive-through penalty at 17, as well as a disqualification at 25. So as we get ready for the race itself, we want to mention our sponsor and to make sure and check out the Majors Garage, home of free Baseline Plus setups. Get help from any of the garage coaches 24/7. Sign up now for awesome, affordable monthly subscriptions, telemetry, coaching, and more by simply clicking on our link in the description below. Also, if you use our special discount code, MajorsGSRC, you'll get 10% off. Got a few drivers with times in, and no surprise, we've got a black stripe in here who has put himself on the pole. Ianca Guven has got a close to 10K I rating and has got about 2/10 over Timo Karjalainen, a very fast driver himself in this car. But Partanen, who took the win last round, is only about 1,000th off, or 100th rather, off of Timo Karjalainen. So that front row could switch around here on the next time around as we watch Guven come through Aqua Minerale. And now we head over to our current reigning champion, who doesn't seem to be contesting in the championship this season quite as much. He's missed the last 3 rounds after winning the first, and he flies down into Alta. Let's see if he can dominate once again, especially against the likes of a pro-level road driver. And he is certainly wheeling it out there today as Andy is letting the car slip around a little bit. It's kind of cool out here today, so I wonder if they're losing a little traction here in the early laps of the qualifying. And a few more coming through. Partanen goes up into the front row, 2,000ths off of Guven, who improves up to a 29.3, so he distances himself. Andy T just crosses the line, and it's a 29.3. His first lap got deleted, so that one was important. And the top three are split by 0.141 of a second, so it is going to be a real tussle up at the top. What about Hankel here? As the German driver also missed his first lap. Must have been just a little bit too wide on one of the corners and had that one deleted. So he's got to try and make sure that this one stays clean at this stage. And he comes out of Ravazza down to the start-finish line. It is a bit of a run here to the timing line. Let's see what he's got underneath him as he crosses. And nothing. It's another one that gets deleted. Hankel's going to be forced to start from the back of the field. It all depends on how many others will manage to get times in. And Timo Karjalainen, who is now on his second flyer, for a brief moment, he was on that second place. Clearly, he's got some speed, but he gets shuffled down into fifth. Zeke also comes through Ravazza. You can see a few corrections here as we ride on board with the Finn. And that looked pretty smooth there coming off the second apex. This one, hopefully a little bit better, but I'm looking at it now, and he might be on an outlet. Let's see if this counts or not. The answer's a no. Must have had to restart that second lap. Must have had some sort of incident. And so only that first one counted for him. Nathan Finnegan just crossed. He goes into 12th position. We're waiting on Rasimas, Paul Williams, Barry West, Armando Edwards, and Miguel Rangel as well. Now, Barry West actually has an interesting one. He is turning 70 today and still racing in the top split here. Love the tenacity of this number 16, and looks like his second and only timed lap is going to put him into 20th. Paul Williams, for his first lap, 31.4. That's good enough for 14th, so looks like that'll work out well for the UK&I driver. And not sure, does he have enough time to get around for the second one? Looks like it's going to be close. This is another of our Wolf drivers that we mentioned earlier. So probably want a little bit better than this to help him off the starting line. Track position going to be so important in this race, no doubt, for our drivers. And through Aqua Minerale, the number 10 now comes up towards Alta. One of the slow chicanes this car tends to not like. It is such a high-speed downforce car. Doesn't really have that mechanical grip. Just clips the curb, as you saw him just bounce it up, but not enough to really hinder him. So it looks like he'll be able to hold well, and it's looking like it's about 0.2 improvement if he keeps this pace up. Down through Ravazza, the first apex, now through the second apex. Both of them nice and tidy. This could be good to take him a little bit higher up. It's about 1/10 up, though. He's lost a little time in that last half of the lap. And it's a 31.2. That will be an improvement, but only up to 13th. That's not going to be good enough. And that appears to be the last of our drivers able to set a time. That means that Guven is on the pole position. You've got Andy T starting next to him, ready to take another win, but he's going to have some real competition this time out. Pauli Partanen will start in the third spot. It's Theo Schleret who will be in fourth. Timo Karjalainen only get enough for fifth today, surprisingly. Sergio Fernandez will start from sixth, and Mikko Laino will be P7. It's Jani Rainen in the 8th position. You've got Christophe Dubois in 9th, and then top 10 is rounded out by Kimmo Viekainen. After that, you get to the second slide. Robert Plumley starts from 11th. Nathan Finnegan will be P12. It's Paul Williams who starts 13th, and Karthik Pai in 14th. Mike Rasimas will be in the 15th position, followed by Gwendolyn Old in 16th. You've got Pablo Suarez starting P17, along with Armando Edwards to his outside. Keith Herner is on the inside of row 10, and then it's Andrew Gould in 20th. The final slide has Tony Tiolis in 21st, Barry West 22nd, the birthday boy, second last to set a time. Nick Morelli will be in 23rd, and then two drivers were not able to get one on the board, Andreas Henkel and Miguel Rangel in Club Iberia there in the number 23. 25 drivers out here today, and there's your temps that they're having to deal with. As I mentioned, just a little cool, not too crazy cold out here, but certainly something where they'll have to watch the tires at the start of this. Just about have everybody out on the grid already. And there they are. Everyone is set up and ready to go. The engines now start to rev here in round 5 of the Sunday Grand Prix Series. Lights are up and the green flag is out. Guven is not good off the line. Andy T's got a great shot at trying to take the lead away from him. That could be critical here. He tries to push him over just a little bit, but Guven isn't budging. Oh, and they're going to come together. There's more cars off behind them. Both of our leaders are off the track. 3 more wrecking in the background. Partonen inherits the lead right through Tamburello. It is a disaster for our incoming Black Stripe and current reigning champion. The other Finn, Karjalainen, is able to move up into second. Theo Schleret is now up into third. And it looks like Sergio Fernandez will be promoted to fourth. Trying to see exactly where T wound up after all that. And he was able to continue, I believe. Yes, he is out on track, but he's all the way down in 21st. And I think he is in there with Guven as well. Wow, what a development here at the start of this race. Partonen trying to shake Karjalainen now. The two Finns have free rein to try and stretch away at this stage. The question is, what kind of pace will those who were quick in qualifying be able to do to try and make up for that setback from the start? And, looks like Andy T had more contact just now. He came together with Tony Teolis and spun him off the course, so he's had a bit of a rough start to this race, no doubt. Coming back onto the front stretch, leading the first lap, but it'll be Partonen. Karjalainen still behind him. Schleret runs in the third position. Ooh, my goodness. We have 3 drivers in pit lane from those opening incidents. Lino, Viakainen, and Good. I'm going to take a wild stab at those were the 3 involved in that wreck to the outside. I believe unrelated to the contact that we saw between our 2 leaders. Let's take a look at the replay and get another look at the incident between T and Guven. Guven's up to 13th by now for what it's worth. And almost similar to what we saw last year here at Imola between Hamilton and Verstappen, except in this case, Andy hung tough and just couldn't get himself. Oh, somebody wound up on their lid. Holy cow, not sure who that is. Looks like that was Gould, who unfortunately just wound up hitting the barrier a second time off the corner and found himself just without the rubber on the road anymore, unfortunately. So as we watch the drivers now head through Alta, this is Karthik Pai that we're watching from on board with. He sits in 8th place. He is chasing Robert Plumley in front of him. Plumley's been having a bit of a rough day, or rough weekend, rather, I should say. Last time out with the Camel GTs and Laguna Seca, he got roughed around quite a bit. This time out, he's into the top 10, up 4 positions. So a very good bit of gain from him in just 3 laps now. I think, yeah, they just started the 3rd lap. And he is chasing down Paul Williams. Now, Williams has done even better. He has gone up 7 positions. I said that the Wolf team really needed to get some points. Well, looks like Paul is going to be able to certainly contribute to that if he can hold on to this here. Because, again, top split out of 2 that we're witnessing here today. This is going to be a nice haul for our drivers. Coming up into Tosa, we switch back to Armando Edwards in the meantime with the 21. He's in the midst of quite a train here. This is Rasimas in front of him. He's also being chased by T, who I have to imagine is probably going to try and make quick work of him. They've got Andreas Henkel and Pablo Suarez in behind, and watching from T's view, he's able to gather him up pretty close, breaking down into the second part of Aqua Minerale. He's all over the gearbox, and Edwards is going to go defensive. Oh, but he breaks early, and Andy T is by. So that moves Andy into 13th. Guven still outpacing him up in front as we watch him come down into, oh, and he's going to make contact, big contact with Finnegan. So more incident points on the board for the number one car. And that looked just a little eager to me. Let's take one more look at it. See if he was a little far back. Yeah, I don't know if that one was really on there. He was trying to make up time and tried a little too hard in the process. It did get him into 9th place, but I'm sure he's not making too many friends here today. If I recall right, Guven actually a Porsche Cup driver in real life. As now we watch Rasimas in 11th, working on Gwendolyn Old. Drivers coming through Tosa once again. And Old under threat here from Mike. Andy T also just behind them. Great run here from Mike. As we come up into the Piratella left-hander and then back down into Aqua Minerale. A lot of pressure here from Mike in that number 9, but Gwen is dealing with it well until there. And Gwen just went way wide. Thankfully, I don't think that's going to get a slowdown penalty. Here comes Rasimas up the inside into Alta. And he is going to be clean through. Andy T says, thanks for clearing the road. I'll take a bit of that myself. He goes into 11th. And Hankel's going to try and do likewise. Another bit of passing maybe on, Olds is going to pass on, excuse me, Hankel on Olds there. Getting all crossed up amongst the drivers. And on to the front stretch. Once again, we fly. No change between Partanen and Karjalainen up to this stage. Timo is about a second back at the front. Guven just taking another spot as he overtakes Karthik Pai. Looks like T does likewise behind him as we look back from Guven down through Tamburello. And interesting note about our second place driver, Karjalainen. I do not see a fastest lap for him. Now that usually means that all of his laps have been discounted due to off tracks or contacts or something. Now, I doubt he had a spin since he's still close to Partanen. I'm going to take a wild stab that he has been taking off tracks at least once each lap, which means he's already up to 5. That's not good news. He's got to cut those out or else he's going to find himself struggling to make it to the end of this race. I am joined by Ossian Puhaka here in the booth today, who's going to help us out. Ozzy, you missed quite the start to the race. A front row between a black stripe of Guven and Andy T suddenly disappeared as they ran into each other and took each other off the course. And since then, Partanen's been leading.
Yeah, so what we had here is failure to communicate. And yeah, and some man you just can't reach. And I've been watching Ihankan Guven driving throughout this race, and that's exactly what's been happening with him. He's been a little bit too aggressive, I think. And, you know, Andy T isn't the type to really give in either. So we got an interesting race in our hand when Guven is in 6th place, 10 seconds back from the lead. Andy T is in 10th place, 13.5 back from the lead. And I will tell you, he's not going to be happy about a guest driver, a driver who is not a mainstay in this series, taking him out right on the start when he is one of the regular contenders. But that's what you get. I remember William Levesque having a stab here a couple of seasons ago, ending up running away with the win. And now Guven is here, and it's great to see, but it's also, there is a certain responsibility when you can't just come in and be too aggressive.
Thankfully, he didn't take out any championship contenders, and that is the good news. But we've been watching. This is Robert Plumley in the middle of your screen in the green and white car. He's being chased by Karthik Pai as Lowell is trying to attack on Paul Williams. Now, I've been trying to figure out on what is going on with this very 70s green on Robert Plumley's car. And you'd think, yeah, okay, it's 70s green, but it's not very pretty, I will say. But then I guess it's not easy being green because I realize he's got Kermit on his car, Kermit the Frog. So that explains what he's got going on there. There you can see it just in front of the driver of the Conducci racing machine. Let's see if he can get the launch and try to find out what's at the end of that rainbow here down the front stretch.
Are those Muppets references?
Yes. My wife loves them, so I know plenty.
Okay, yeah. So we also see the font there on that car, the Guiducci Racing font, and that is very 70s as well. And it's a kind of typeface that looks like you're wearing bell-bottom jeans. That's what it looks like. But we have a fight indeed for 7th place between Paul Williams and Robert Plumley. Great to see Mr. Guiducci having a great race for a change. His performances have been fluctuating a little bit, going up and down. He's usually outside the top 10, but great to see him running 8 here at Imola. And behind him, we got a side-by-side as well between Pi and T.
Yeah, T is going to be able to get through, and Pi has to get... Yeah, has to give that one up as Rasimas is going to take a little bit of a peek down into Aqua Minerale, but nothing doing there. We hop on board with him as he probably wants to try and take advantage of T opening the door a little bit earlier. It looks like now that he's skittered away, Pi is able to go back on the defense once more. I'm still not seeing a time on the board for Timo Karjalainen. We're up to lap 7, going to be lap 8 here soon. I don't know what he's doing that's using up these incident points, but this is not going to be good for him in a bit.
He was running wide at Piratella a lot. I was watching him earlier on, and he's running wide at Piratella. There's 2 reasons why you don't get a lap time. One is that you get an incident point. It could even be a 0x sometimes that invalidates a lap. And other reason is that you have a black flag. But he doesn't have a black flag because he's been running for 7 laps already. As we are side by side, and we see Williams managing to get through. I think that's Williams, yeah, it is. Managing to defend from Plumley, and Andy T is right behind them, so Andy T is going to go for a pass at Villeneuve.
Ooh, side by side, and wow! Through the whole thing, and he somehow comes out ahead, shakes Plumley, who spun up the wheels and just couldn't hold on. Meanwhile, we saw a little bit of it. Rasimas was able to overtake, on Pi. Look at this from above. Around the outside of the second apex, I can't remember the last time I've seen that work.
I think I've made it work once throughout my whole career, and that's a very difficult move to pull off because you need a lot of trust. Essentially, Villeneuve is one of those corners where usually if somebody's alongside you, one has to give into position at the first apex because the first apex is so fast when you turn left, and then you need to come down the gear, so you take either second or third gear through the second apex. And here we see T going at it again. Now this time against Paul Williams and going inside at Rivazza, and he's through. But yeah, so that's a very brave move. You have to put a lot of trust in the driver alongside you so that they don't run wide, which is very easy to do. So while Andy T made that look great, there's also great credit to Robert Plumley in that he was able to hold his line and allow them to go through there without an incident, because that is very, very difficult even for seasoned drivers.
Absolutely, and Rasimas took a little bit of a look, but nothing able to be executed into the corner. We had a spin from Andreas Henkel a little bit earlier. We didn't see it on screen. That was coming out of Alta. He's able to keep going, but he lost touch with this train because of that incident. Meanwhile, down into the braking, Rasimas chasing on Plumley, who's chasing on Williams, and this is a very good run from Plumley. He could maybe try and be aggressive, but he decides not to into Piratella.
No, he doesn't want to go for a move there, and that's a perfectly valid decision. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with these guys. And Rasimas is now catching up to these guys who have been kind of stuck battling with T, and now that Andy T is gone away, they still got a battle in their hands. That's what often happens when you see a faster guy ending up outside the top 10 and taking positions one by one. They kind of end up shaking the pack. So it's kind of like you see a bit of water, and then you muddy up the water and you shake it. And even if you get away from the water is still a little bit muddy, it's a little bit shaken. And the same thing happens here with Williams, Plumley, Rasimas, and Kartik Pai. They got some muddy waters. They got a battle that they can't quite figure out yet in terms of relative speed differences. But I think it's going to be good. And here goes Rasimas.
Yeah, you could see it. He had a big spin of the wheels. I think that was him coming off of the corner, and still managed to get the launch and is able to overtake on Plumley. So Mike up into 9th position, a gain of 6. This is fantastic for the number 9 appropriately. Also, you may have seen at the top of your screen, Guven finally had his first time where it was a lap without anybody around him, and he dutifully set the fastest lap of the race by a full 2/10 over the next closest, which was his lap.
Yeah. So that's a very, very great effort from him, and he's now got 4.5 seconds of clear air to this duo, Schlerer and Fernandez, and these guys are going to battle, I think. At least later on. So Guven has a great chance of making it to the podium today. I'm not sure about the win anymore. I mean, Partanen and Karjalainen, they look to be running away with it. But this duo, they're perfectly catchable, and we might see Guven in the rearview mirror sometime soon. Guven has been catching like 0.7 of a second or half a second this lap already, and you can see Guven actually being faster than the leader Partanen as well at this moment. So if he has some damage, he's been hiding it very, very well indeed, as Rasimas now demonstrates what happens very easily here at Imola. Your tires heat up, you end up too much sideways, and you just can't put the power down. But he still got that pure raw speed to hold on to this pack, but I think Plumley would quite like his position back.
Yeah, both apexes of Ravazza, he got the car sideways. He definitely seems to have used up his stuff, and that's not going to help him down that long front stretch, especially with so many laps left to go and a little bit wide there through the first apex. Certainly doesn't help through Villeneuve. As far as Guven goes, he's about 9 seconds behind the leaders. I think he's going to have to outpace them by almost a little more than half a second per lap from here to just catch them, not let alone pass them. We're riding on board with him. Let's see what the last one was. A 30.4, pretty good.
Whoa, hold on. Something's wrong with Karjalainen. He's dropping like a stone.
Oh,
because he was 1 second behind, and now he's 2.2 seconds behind of Partanen. I wonder if he's made a mistake or if he's actually broken the car. Something's wrong with him.
Trying to look and see if I can see some damage on it. I'm not seeing anything from a close-up angle, and neither are we here from the cameras. Last time, 32.0. He must have hit one of the curbs somewhere. We'll see if we can find that in a bit, but we come back now to the battle between Schlerer and Fernandez for the last step on the podium. Just been hounding him for quite some time. I wonder if they're actually going to catch up to Karjalainen as well, because the last lap they were significantly quicker.
They were, and that's because Karjalainen was struggling all around. I wonder if he's been cutting too much at somewhere like, no, not with these cars, you can't cut too much at Alta. Maybe he's taking a slowdown penalty from the exit of Aqua Minerale. That might make sense, and that's why he's been losing time, and now he seems to be back at the pace. So Schlerer and Fernandez now, they may not get the lifeline they were expecting, but that's gonna shake up Karjalainen. So we'll have to keep an eye on him for the next couple of laps on if he makes this mistake again, because he was behind Partanen. They were swapping lap times. Closest was when Karjalainen was like 3/10 back. He was around a second back for the most of the race. Now he made a mistake, lost a single second. Now a single second may not seem like much, but that's essentially what can break the camel's back in this case. Karjalainen will now try very hard to get those top lap times on board, and there's two things that will happen. Three things actually. One thing is that he can start slowly catching back up to Partanen again, cursing himself over that mistake. Second is that he will catch him for a couple of laps, make another mistake, give in and settle for second. The third chance is that he makes a mistake and crashes out. So that's a very risky business that he's doing right now, but he's catching 0.3 of a second last time by Joe, so I think he's gonna quite like the first option out of those three.
I cannot see Timo giving up on this. I think he's going to fight to see if he can catch him and try and get that lead away, especially with such a great opportunity to take a bit of a surprise win. He's up 3 spots from where he began this race. We come back to the Club Iberia driver, Sergio Fernandez, just chasing his neighbor around from Club France, Schlerer, just across the border, is trying to see if he can make himself a little bit more safe. And at times it looks like he starts to pull away, but then there are moments where Sergio is within almost touching distance, within just about a car length.
And look who else is almost at the touching distance. There comes Guven. With the black stripe on his car, the Turkish flag proudly presented on his helmet, reminding me of another guy who used to be an iRacer and is now driving in, I think it's even the Formula 2 or the Formula 3 series at FIA, Cem Bolukbasi. I used to race him a lot in the Skippy series, and he's another guy who made it, another Turkish driver who made it very far indeed into the racing ladder, as there comes Fernandez.
He's got the inside. He saw that car in his mirror and he said, it's time to go. He's going to go for it down into Tamburello, and he gets the spot, but that slows both of them up. And will Guven try and make the move coming into Villeneuve, or is he going to try and stay patient? He's going to show his nose, but I don't think that was a serious attempt. Maybe into Tosa. You could see surprise attacks into this hairpin. No, once again, not close enough, Ozzy.
No, but he's going to get a great launch because Schlede was taking an inside line there. Oh, actually not, because both of them have dropped, so Guven may not be able to catch quite up to Piratella, so he's gonna have to wait, and the next chance is either down the inside at Alta, or he's gonna wait after Rivazza. At that point you might as well wait to the straight, so one lap of waiting. What is that to a driver that's been consistently fast? Well, it may seem like nothing, but he's at an impatient mode now that he's caught up to these guys, but at the same time, if he's a counting man and doing calculations, he knows that this will maybe be the last battle for him for the podium and not catching up to the leaders as he makes a mistake by Schlede.
Yeah, and that really opens up the door. Well, you said the wise man maybe should wait for the straight, but I guess call Guven a very fast fool today because he managed to get the overtake. Unfortunately, it did seem to lose him some time over Fernandez, but he's only got about half a second to make up. And we're going to take the replay here for Finnegan having a move and a failed move. Oh, wow! Big hit.
That's just a small bit of contact too. You had a small bit of tire contact heading to the braking zone at turn number 1, but the problem is that you're doing 280 k's an hour at that point, so even the smallest bit of contact is going to hurt.
Oh, and there's the move very quickly. Guven now up into third position. He's 7.5 seconds away from the leader, but he's 4 seconds away from Karjalainen. A couple more slower laps from Timo, and in a car that usually goes faster as the race progresses. Something's up with the number 5 here today.
I think it also might be that he took a lot of off tracks earlier on. He had that slowdown. He tried to catch up for one lap, realized that he may not be able to do it, overheated his tires, and now he has to get back to it. And look at that. He takes the second apex, way too much of the second curve at Alta. And that's going to cost him time, and that's going to make him go sideways again. So he has a mental battle too. It's not really a physical battle. I think it's a mental battle with Timo Karjalainen, where he's not just able to find that rhythm again. He lost the rhythm. He's not able to find it. He's making a couple of mistakes, and that can happen so very easily.
Well, it's been a bit of a rough day for the birthday boy. Barry West has unfortunately been roughed out of the way into 20th. He was trying to make a move on Keith Herner and made a little bit of side-to-side contact. So that was not the way he wanted this to go. As we come back to Theo Schleret, the Frenchman has been shuffled down into 5th, unfortunately, after being on the podium for a brief while. Look at him shaking his head. He's not too happy with his performance.
Yeah, I think he's communicating to someone as well. He has those earphones on, and look at him just... Again, I think it must be the heat. The heat is getting to those tires, because he was making a mistake at Tosa too. And you can see him again, like, kind of having to shove it in, hoping there's grip. Let's see what happens. Let's stick with this. I want to see what happens right here. Aku Minerali, second apex. Can he hold it nice and consistent? Yes, he can. Just taking a bit of a wide line, so no problems there, which means his rears are most likely going to be at least quite okay, because that's when you usually feel it. You get so many fast corners here, and the tires have no chance to cool down. So Aqua Minerali, the exit from there, the exit from Tosa, and the exit from right here, Rivazza too, those are going to be so very important, not only in terms of your lap time, but in terms of your tire life as well.
Coming off of Alta, we come back to Plumley. still having some fun with Paul Williams. This is for 8th position here, and Karthik Pai is ready to try and snatch one of those spots up if they start to go side by side through some of the twistier bits. But right now they approach the front stretch and trying to get as good of a launch as he can. Plumlee is going to feel the slipstream. I don't know if it's close enough though, Ozzy.
I don't think it is. I don't think Plumlee is close enough. He's going to have to wait for another lap here. Still 0.3 of a second. Paul Williams' car is just flying on a straight line. Look at that. Plumlee was not able to catch him at all throughout the main straight. Oh, and there's a crash at Tamburello, and that's Mike Rasimas. That's Mike Rasimas out at Tamburello. We just saw it on the background as we are sticking with this battle for a moment. That Wolf car being caught up by the very 1970s green car of Plumlee. And here we see what happened to at Tamburello to Mike Rasimas at the exit. He just lost it.
Curb on the outside. Once he went over it, car didn't like it, bounced him off, and away he went. Thankfully, didn't look like he hit the wall there, so I think he's able to keep going. Plumlee, wow, looking on either side, down into Aquaman Raleigh, just about where he can reach out and touch that gearbox. He's not afraid to race close, that is for sure.
No, he is not, and Robert Plumlee looking great here in the corners, but he's gonna have to get an almighty launch onto the main straight because Paul Williams, his car is fast on a straight line, so it's no wonder that Plumlee is gonna get close in the corners as Guven is threatening that 1:30 benchmark here in this race. We're gonna move it to him soon, but see first what happens here. Can Plumlee actually get a good launch? Yes, he can, but will he benefit from it? Will he actually catch up Paul Williams? I'm not sure, because look at that car fly. And that's a great strategy, Joe. It's an old one, but why not play the hits if they're working?
Exactly. And as he approaches, a little too far back for the time being. Gwen Old, unfortunately, also went into the wall recently. Not sure if that was with some help or if it was a self-spin, but we come to Guven. It is down to 0.3 of a second. Last few laps have all been more than a second quicker than Timo Karjalainen, so he's made short work of this, but he goes way too wide there and picks up the curb. It seems like even the short curbs here, these cars don't like. Oh, and we've had a problem with Williams in that fight. Williams was spun through Tosa, loses multiple spots, and that was all by himself, unfortunately.
Yeah, let's see what happens here. So they're coming to the Tosa corner. We're on board with Williams and he just lost the back end. And that's the problem when you run too little wing, is that you don't have the downforce breaking into the corners. Most of it comes from the underside, the underbody of the car, these being ground effect cars, but the wings do have a real effect. And here comes Guven.
Raccoon Racing isn't even a match for the black stripe on the back of Guven's car. He's going to fight for it. And this time, side by side into the corner goes much better for the number one than it did on the first lap. So here's your marker, 9 to go and 5 seconds, 5.5 seconds to make up to catch Partanen.
Yeah, whoa, call him the pest control because he's putting those raccoons swiftly into the back of the van, taking them out of the trash. And Karjalainen now behind Guven, and this is a great opportunity for Timo Karjalainen to get back into his rhythm. I don't think he has the pace to match Guven, but he can get back into his rhythm and he can follow a faster car, and that often helps a lot. He's going to be gutted about losing the second place, but the downside for Karjalainen and Guven is that I don't think Guven will have the pace to catch up to Partanen. I just don't think he is. It's going to be way too much of a long shot. But I would be glad to be proven wrong just so we get a lead battle here. But still, Karjalainen, let's see if he can stick up to it. The answer so far looks to be no. Already 6 tenths behind, and that's almost out of the draft range.
No, it just doesn't seem like he's got the speed. But let's see what the distance is between them this time. By Partanen's going to cross the line soon. He's been incredibly consistent, 30.7s and 30.8s. Now that he sees that Guven has overtaken, he suddenly sets his personal best of the race at a 30.5. I think Pauli's gotten the hurry up from the stats on his screen.
Yeah, it is gonna be something of a mental battle for him, because in his heart of hearts he knows that this is his race to lose. And that is a very difficult position to be in. I can tell that somewhat from experience, that when you have a lead and you know that you have the lead and there is somebody with lightning under his buttocks like Guven right now has, with not very little to lose because he's a pro driver. He's not a regular in the series. He's just running it for this 1 week. Well, I would hope to be proven wrong. I would like to see more of him in this series. I always like to see fast drivers here, but yeah, Guven is someone who's not a regular, so losing to him would be a great shame and an embarrassment to these guys as Schlerey puts it into the wall.
Yeah. Amazingly, the car is still going. That was a very hard hit, but he's picked it up and he's still in 5th place, but he lost another position out of that. We're on board with Hankel, and after his spin, he's caught back up with Pye and Plumley. This is for 8th position that we're watching. The German sees a little bit of a move there from Karthik Pye, but the Texan doesn't really want it quite yet. That's a hard pass to make down into Acqua Minerale. And then, of course, they've got a Brit in front of them in the form of Plumley. Down into Alta. Good run from all 3 of them. Not too much curb, but nobody able to get enough of a launch.
No, they are not, and we'll have to see if Henkel can keep it together. Andrea Henkel running that Sebastian Vettel tribute helmet, actually, and I really, really, really like that lead. Just one problem, wrong era.
Yeah. From the mistake-prone era, shall we call it, of poor Vettel, as we come down the front stretch, and I can tell you that Partanen was 2 seconds or 2/10 ahead last time, and here we go down into the braking. It's going to be Plumley ahead of Hankel, still not able to get by.
No, he is not. So Plumley leading this pack away. And great 3-way battle pair, great 3-way battle behind them, about to form 2, or at least a 2-way battle between Williams and Rasimas. Looking at the times, no need to go to it. We went to it anyway because I said it too late, and here we can see them. Great bit of screen time. Let's see if Rasimas can actually be able to make it through to Tosa. Yes, he is, but Williams has the fast car. We'll see if that is a great benefit from the outside. No, it's not.
And Paul had another spin that we didn't see after the one that we did witness that was down in Nervata. So I think even Williams is suffering from the overheating tires here today, which is so strange to me because it's only 75 Fahrenheit on the track surface. It's not a terribly hot day on the asphalt because it's early in the morning here. It's about 9:15 a.m. virtual standard time. So I'd be afraid to see what it looked like if this was a hot race.
Oh, I've experienced it. It's not pretty. But the thing is that the track surface at Imola is very slippery. It eats up the tires, as you can see there. And once you heat up the tires, it's gonna become a very difficult race. I don't know what it is about the track. I think it's the fast corners, and especially those corners which you have a lot here, where you have to kind of trail brake through the corner. You see Tamburello is a bit of an example if you want to get it down to the second apex. This is one example. Villeneuve in the middle of the corner, you have to brake, and here comes Henkel to the inside. Wow. Oh!
Yeah.
Almost lose it.
Gonna go by the lapped car. No! Yes, it is a lapped car. Excuse me. I thought I clicked onto the wrong thing. That's Nicholas Morelli, who is going to be letting them by. So no dramas there. But Hankel did manage to get the pass on Pye recently and is going to try an overtake on Plumley. See if he can do anything into Alta. No, that is a very good exit from Robert. That'll keep him out of range for the time being. Guven has gotten down to 3.8 seconds behind Partanen, by the way, and is continuing to chip away, but it's too little too late from what I can tell. And, Schlerey is going to lose another spot to Andy T. Well, he hasn't made the inroads that Guven has, but T will still at least see, if I can get the words out, a top 5. But knowing how T races and how he once wins, I think this one is going to be a disappointment in the end.
Yeah, and I think he might have some snappy words to say afterwards too. Knowing Andy T and how he speaks, yep, there's gonna be some comments. But we're not focused on that. It's not our piece of business. Instead, we get a neat move for Henkel around Plumley into Tamburello, and that means the German is going to move himself to 8th place. And going back to that helmet of Andreas Henkel briefly, if I may, it would look great in the 70s. It's a great helmet that would work in the 70s too, if you just remove all the logos and stuff. If you just kept that German stripe running down the middle.
I agree. It's a good design, but behind him, Plumlee has already got Pi starting to breathe down his neck. And apparently, as I said before, it is not easy being green today for that number 14. Car doesn't drive like a pig, but it's not able to keep pace today with some of the quicker drivers around him. And he's been bleeding a few here and there. Oh, Karjalainen's in pit lane. Oh,
no.
Yep, black flag, incident limit. That is just too much off tracks for Team
What an idiot.
Karjalainen.
What an idiot. Why would you do that? Like, you know the incident limit. I'm sorry, but that's just... You have to keep it between the white lines.
You can get away saying that because you're a fellow Finn, I'm sure. I wouldn't be able to say that, I think.
No, I think he would. I think he would, because that's just a self-imposed tragedy. And now he's gonna lose a surefire third place, and he's gonna drop all the way back to 6th between Schleray and Dubois. And Schleray, I think, is still catchable because he has that incident with the wall. He had that contact with the wall, so we're gonna see a battle between Schleray and Karjalainen potentially towards the end of this race. But following this battle still, 8th, 9th and 10th. It's been great to see these trains forming throughout this race, I think.
Absolutely. Let's stay here because this is a fun one to watch. Oh no, we've gone to Ryanen, who we haven't really given much time to. Now Paul Williams continuing to struggle out there in that Wolf machine. Has fallen to 10th position. It might be 11th soon. A little bit of wheel spin, unfortunately, for the Finn in the meantime. I wanted to mention that Guven has broken the 130 barrier twice now. So he is really on top of it and is continuing to gain, but he's only got 3 more laps to go with a little under 3 seconds. So unless he gets a mistake out of Pauli, I don't think the win is going to be there. Meanwhile, Plumlee still hanging on to Henkel. I tell you, Andreas, he's been able to make these passes, but he hasn't been able to shake these guys.
No, it's so easy to stay on the draft on the main straight. That is the great equalizer. You got another great run from Tosa to Piratella as well, where you can hold on to the draft. So you have to make the gap between Piratella and the Rivazza corner. So you have Acqua Minerale, which you have to nail. Then you have Alta, which you have to nail. Then you come to Rivazza and you have to nail it, and you have to make 6-7 tenths of a second of a gap there. And that's not an easy thing to do. I don't think Henkel is in trouble, particularly. Robert Plumlee behind him doesn't look that fast, but it's still going to be a bit of pressure just to like keep these guys behind him, not to make a mistake anymore, because one mistake and he could be 2 positions down once again. And as we mentioned with that lead earlier on, it is quite a mistake-prone lead, so let's hope he doesn't. Take advice from Sebastian Vettel in that 2018-2019 era. Mind you, if it was a 70s era German helmet, it would be even worse because it would be split in 2.
Well played, sir. As we continue to watch this fight, last time by, looking at the leaders, Partanen, personal best of the 30.2, 29.8 for Guven. Man, he's not giving this one up. We're on board with him and seeing what it's like behind the wheel of a driver of this caliber. And he can actually see Partanen up the road at this point. He is that close behind 4th and made up, gosh, what was it, about 12 to 14 seconds after the initial incidents? That is impressive.
Yeah, and he's driving it looked like he would drive his Cup Porsche as well. They have similar tendencies. Now, they're very different cars, but they have similar tendencies exiting the corner. This has less mechanical grip, so he's gonna have to get used to it. But look at him just launching it to the inside, 10 at the exit, he's just playing with the throttle. He's driving with the throttle, he's already straight with the steering wheel at the apex of the corner, and he's just turning it around with the throttle. And that is a very Porsche driver approach to this car. Taking over the curbs, running a little bit wide, but that's still very fast line. And it's a shame that this race isn't like 5 laps longer.
Honestly, I think 2 or 3 laps longer even, and he would have been on top of him because it's down to 1.8, 1.9. He would have been feeling that slipstream a little down the front stretch. And as the cloud cover starts to darken the track, we get the white flag. It is 1 to go, and it's a 30.3 for Partanen. Guven hit a 29.9. Both of them not able to go quicker that lap. Down into the braking as they try to... Oh, and the lap traffic, unfortunately, is going to hurt. This is Armando Edwards just in front of him at exactly the wrong time for Guven.
Who's Justin? But yeah, Partanen with another Formula 1 style helmet here, by the way. That's Mika Salo from the 1990s and early 2000s as well. He was driving for the inaugural season at Toyota, actually, in 2002. But yeah, Mika Salo, who is from the same neighborhood in Vantaa as Mika Häkkinen. They're 2 years apart and they grew up exactly in the same neighborhood, around a block or two apart from each other. So that's two Formula 1 drivers from Finland, both named Mika, and they used to dominate the Formula 3 at UK in 1990. And well, this may not be Formula 3, this is Formula 1 from 1978, and Pauli Partanen, a dominant performance. Well, I can't say dominant, but a very good performance here at Imola. Did what he had to do.
Don't need to go to at a spin from Schleret. And unfortunately, that was once again in the same corner, all on his own. Partanen, in the meantime, 1.2 seconds to spare. His pace was just perfect enough today for Partanen to get win number 3 this season here at Imola. Guven follows him home within almost a second at the end. And Fernandez is going to wind up in third, a little bit ahead of Andy T, off the podium for our front row starter today.
Yeah, it was a bad day for him. The T burned in the first corner, and he just couldn't get the pace down afterwards with a damaged car. But still, a great performance coming from outside the top 10, well outside the top 10, into almost the podium, 4th place. That's gonna sting. Here we are on board with Mr. Green, Robert Plumley, who is gonna finish behind Henkel and Pai in this 3-way battle of tears. That's a shame, but a great top 10 for Plumley nonetheless. That's not gonna be a bad result at all. As Gwendolyn Old, only in 16th, he was closer to the top 10 earlier on, but now he's 16th and he's gonna be the last driver to finish in the lead lap, just to make that one clear. But he still might have a chance at 15th. Let's see what happens.
Couple of really good climbers today, not just obviously our front row who had to come back through the field, but Henkel up 17 spots and Rangel up 11. Very good job by the 23 car, as this battle is not done. This is for position. Suarez is under threat. Can he snipe him at the line? Gwen is going to try and do it. Let's see who comes out ahead. Oh, they wheels across. And it's going to be Suarez who winds up ahead of him at the line over Olds. Well, then.
NASCAR.
Yeah, very much so. Love to see that. And especially they both managed to keep it going after that. It wasn't just wrecking each other. Let's head to a break. We'll come back with the official results as well as driver interviews in a moment.
Rolling with a little bit of a squirrely moment there on the bottom as he was snapped tight on the exit of the corner. Christian Challenger trying to stay off the back of Andretti. They're going to go 3 wide as they come down the front stretch with Travis whirling on the bottom. There's contact. They still keep going.
Whirling all the way to the bottom, but he doesn't have the speed. He's pinched too far to the inside. Challenger on the high side. He's going to be able to get the nose ahead. We are going green to the finish. Abramitis has the inside, but can he get it off the corner? He is much faster coming through there. Is there damage on Challenger? Abramitis is ahead. It's going to be a race to the line. Who is going to get it? Abramitis takes the win by 7 thousandths of a second. The top 5 were only 700ths between each other. Unbelievable finish.
Pulling up ahead, but it's going to be 3 wide as they head down to turn 1. Look at that. That's Ian Haycox making the move for the lead on the inside. They're almost 4 wide behind him. That's Reed Miller who gets into the back of everybody. He cleans out Yuko Leskala.
Unbelievable! Haycock's with a move that saved his bacon. He gets a great run, covering down to the inside, almost all the way to the grass. He'll force Holly to go the long way around. As they approach Rent, Kings is still potentially in this. No, he's starting to drop back as he tied on fuel here. As Holly tries to go around, he might have the speed to do it if he can just challenge him down to the line. He is a little bit wide. Now Kings is coming back. They are running out of fuel. It's going to be Kings who goes from third to first at the final run. No, this is a bad place to catch him. He's going to be able to get through one. That's some distance. That is the buffer that he needs. I think that's going to do it for Guven. All he needs to be is fast off the final corner. He spins it. The final corner. Vico's going to win off the final turn and beat Guven, who led this entire race. Welcome back to Imola. Man, it was an exciting race out there today, including the top two on the grid taking each other out. In the very first corner, Partanen said, I'll take those pieces, pick them up, and carry them to the finish for a checkered flag as he took the win. Guven climbed all the way back to second. He was within 1 second of Partanen by the very end, but just didn't have the speed to try and reclaim the victory. Fernandez, Sergio wound up in third as Andy T, who was the other one on the front row involved in that incident, could only get himself into fourth. Didn't quite have the speed of Iankin. Timo Karjalainen was P5, who unfortunately was a little too liberal with his off tracks today. Christophe Dubois was 6. How about Andreas Henkel? Didn't manage to set a qualifying time, didn't let him stop him. He went from 24th to 7th. Karthik Pai, the Texan, managed 8th. Also a pretty good climb for him, up 6 spots, as Robert Plumley was 9th and Mike Rosimus was in 10th.
Gonna run through the rest of your results here. Teo Schlede ending up 11th, Jani Ryhänen was 12th, Paul Williams 13th in his very fast car, Miguel Rangel 14th, up a lot of positions, Pablo Suarez 15th and Gwendolyn Old 16th. We got Armando Edwards, we got Barry West, the birthday boy, finishing 18th, Tony Teolis 19th and Keith Herner running out your top 20. Then we had a couple of more finishers as well. Borelli finishing 2 laps down. Then we had retirements, Finnegan Gold, Leino and Vilja Kainen. And next up we have Joe Peak, who is ready with the interview microphone, coming up with all the tough questions, I'm sure.
Well, my very first question is what was going through your head, Pauli, when you saw the wreck in front of you on lap 1?
First thought was really that I was so super lucky. Those guys had so much space, so it would be very hard to beat them. But second thought was already that those guys will be coming and fast from behind, so I was just pedal to the metal all race.
Well, that was going to be my next question, is how hard you were pushing. Clearly, it was everything you got, which turned out to be just enough in the end. Did it make you nervous by the time it was coming down to those last laps, seeing him show up in your F3 box?
Yeah, I was super nervous, really. I was pushing all I really got. Like every lap, I was trying to make some qualification pole lap time. So I was really pushing, and luckily I didn't make any mistakes because I was fearing those for sure. And he was getting faster and faster whole race and very close in the end. But I took a bit carefully the last lap, so I would make any mistakes. So he was a bit closer than really he was.
Well, Tolinen wasn't here today, and Freesia wasn't here today, so the two above you in the points kind of handed you a golden opportunity, and then T and Guven certainly helped out. So what does this make you feel and think about heading into the halfway point of the season here soon, knowing you could be leading the championship?
Very, very, very good season coming, and I'm sure Jukka has very good pace. Rest of the season he got new wheels, so I'm looking forward to race with him. And yeah, Gernot is always fast, so you cannot never out him from the championship battle. But yeah, I have good hopes for win, but let's see.
Well, other than Andy and Hyankin, who do you have to thank for today's win?
Yeah. Well, I want to thank myself, as Jukka was not here this week, so I had to make the setup. So thank you, Pauli. Nothing else. Thanks.
That was our winner, Pauli Partanen. Clearly grateful to himself for being good with the setup and quick with the car. Meanwhile, we have the commentator with the dry wit talking to the driver with the dry wit.
Yes, we do. Andy T, how does it feel to be on the receiving end of a punt for a change?
Don't know what you mean there, Austin. Have I punted you in some race I'm unaware of? I mean, oh no,
No,
actually,
no, just a couple of other guys.
I'd never punt you.
Yeah, so that was an unfortunate first corner incident. What do you think happened there?
Well, I've watched it back. What do you think?
Well, it looks like two cars trying to go for the same space and both end up running out. So two objects cannot exist at the same place at the same time. But after that, it was a great comeback drive from you. So at least some solidation after the first corner disappointment.
I mean, I've given the guy 2 car widths and he's taken too much curb and clipped my rear end. Like, I'd expect more, to be fair with you. Like, I'm not impressed at that. And yeah, I was just trying to come back as best as I could with the traffic being a bit wild. Like, all you can do is try and focus on not murdering anybody. I think there were a few net codes as I came through the field as well, but I can't be too courteous when I've got like 20-something places to make up.
Yeah, that is often the balancing act. Just because one has an unlucky first corner doesn't mean that they can, pay the harm forward. So 4th place here, we haven't really seen you run the whole season. So what made you run here on the Easter weekend?
My girlfriend's off work, if I'm honest. So I need something to do. I mean, at work rather. So yeah, it's just I'll drop in and drop out as and when. I got so much stuff going on though. Like some things are opening up. There's concerts. There's all kinds of stuff going on. So this will play second fiddle, to be honest.
Yeah, it's a shame. It's a shame we haven't really seen you, but hope we can get you back here someday running for the championship once again. Andy T, thank you very much for the interview and apologies on how your first corner went, but at least you got a great recovery drive. And if you would have anything to say, then feel free to do so.
Oh, so it was nice to see Theo did really well after he dialed the snap oversteer in air quotes out of my setup. Congrats. Big thanks to Paolo. He dropped me a little insight this week, which gained me a little time. Fam, thanks for watching. And Hoops, you're the absolute worst as usual. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Andy T. And finally, I think we might have, and we do have, Joe Peak, who is about to cut the cake, or rather give the cake to cut for a certain birthday boy, or birthday man at this point.
Indeed, and it wasn't a flawless birthday. I did see at least one spin for you out there, Barry. And how do you feel today getting to celebrate and get to race one of your favorite cars?
Well, it was a good race apart from the 2 minor errors, but just trying to keep out of trouble at the beginning. And I didn't realise Andy was coming up so quick after his off. That was nearly an incident. But yeah, it was just frustrating, really, because I had one earlier. I've only done 2 this week, so not much practice. Yeah, it's an enjoyable race. It's one of those tracks that if you overdrive, it's so easy to overdrive. And I was catching Amanda at the end, the same as the race before, and I just too far in front, really. But yeah, it's a pity I got lapped at no spin. Another, if it was Yanni, I think Yanni Ryan came off, and he had bad damaged wing, and then he scared me off the track, I think, down at the Peralta. But it would have been a much better race.
So how old do you turn today? About 29, 30, somewhere around there?
It's not today, it's tomorrow, and it's 7-0.
Well, I mean, congratulations and have a great birthday. Absolutely. Will we see you coming at Laguna Seca? We got a spate of tracks where it's hard to pass here in this part of the season.
Yeah, I do like Laguna. When I saw a 6-hour race there once a few years ago, it's a lovely track. Yeah. I'll be there, hopefully.
Well, we'll look forward to you and go enjoy both Easter and your birthday, and we can't wait to see you.
Thanks, and cheers, guys.
That was Barry West here, who wound up finishing 18th, still up 4 from where he began. Just unfortunately not on the lead lap, I think, like he was aiming for. But that is going to take us to the end with a big thank you, of course, to our sponsor, Majors Garage. Make sure and check them out through our link in the description below and use our discount code MajorsGSRC to get 10% off. Also, big thank you to the Lotus 79 community for bringing us back for another season of coverage. Also, thanks to the companies that provide our software and hardware for our broadcast listed here. And additional thanks to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Check out our Bandcamp for more great work. Thanks to the team today, Ozzy, Ryan, and Dougie. You can find more info about GSRC at globalsimracingchannel.com or through our social media. Also, check out our merchandise store. It's gsrc.storeenvy.com, and there's a link in the description below for that as well. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel so you don't miss a moment. As we mentioned, in a week's time, we're heading off to California for Laguna Seca on Sunday, April 24th at 12:30 p.m. Eastern. We have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen. Check those out, mark them down on your calendar. In a few minutes, we're heading off to Spa-Francorchamps for the Absolute Beginners League. That's at 2 p.m. Eastern. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.